This is Aussie Mac Zone. We'll cover everything Apple, including Macs, iPhones, iPads, and more. All this from an Aussie perspective. Sit back, relax, and insert yourself into the zone. The Aussie Mac Zone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Aussie Mac
yes.
Zone, show 116. So, Garth, how are we again tonight, buddy?
I am on top of the world, Michael. How are you?
Fantastic, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's cooled down a little bit down here, so it's much better, much more comfortable.
Oh, that's right. You were having all sorts of heat waves last week, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, we were having your weather instead of ours.
Yeah, well, good. Lucky you. We've got we had a stormy day today. It was thunder and lightning and a bit of rain and whatnot, but no, still beautiful one day, perfect the next.
I was lucky enough to have that yesterday afternoon.
We tell ourselves that. Okay.
I got a sunroof in my car, and I thought I'd left it open because it was pretty warm. So then it started pouring rain and a little bit of hail. So I'm running back to the car. I'm soaking wet, but it wasn't open, so I could have just stayed. Absolutely soaking wet.
So at least your car didn't get wet, but you did.
That's right. Yes.
No hail damage.
So you've got a great news story for us.
Oh, you mean the old price rise?
Yes. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I know. Had to come, I guess. Dollar's been looking, well, good for commodities, but not so good for us who want to buy apps from overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently in the next day or so, the next 36 hours from when the story came out, the Australian App Store prices for 99-cent apps, which we have been paying about $1.29 for, will go up to $1.49. So, along with a couple of other countries, have we got those? Where is that story?
It was Switzerland and forgot myself now. Switzerland and Denmark, or Switzerland?
Yeah, somewhere over there, wasn't it?
Yeah, here it is.
I've jumped right to the wrong end of the story.
That's all right.
But anyway, the bit we care about is that Australian prices are going up for purchases in the App Store.
Yeah.
99 cent in the US. You know, I remember a while ago we were paying $1.19, then it went up to $1.29, and now it's going to go up to $1.49. The one upside of this is that Apple are introducing a lower tier as well for the Australian and I think the other couple of countries as well.
Indonesia and Sweden.
They're putting prices up in. So there you go, Indonesia and Sweden.
Yeah.
Previously, only third world countries and developing nations have had this lower price tier where developers can, set their 99 cents was the base price you could do here in Australia previously, the base US price. But so, if developers choose, instead of charging us the $1.49, which is currently the lowest price as of this change, will be the lowest price they can charge, Apple will allow them to charge us $1.99. 99 cents Australian. Yeah. So hopefully we will have a few developers jump on that and keep that low.
So what's that, about
overall,
15%, isn't it?
Be better for us. Not so good for developers. 15% increase from the $1.29.
Yeah.
Up to $1.30 up to $1.50. Yeah. So I guess that's about somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. So and
but if you're a developer,
it means you're still getting the same cut at the end of it after Apple take their percentage. But yeah, that's about the same rise on Apple spare parts. So anyone that's getting their machine fixed, the prices are going up by about the same percentage. So try not to drop your machine or your phone or look after it, give it a bit more loving.
Even more so than usual.
Yes. And
I'm glad for the old Apple Care I got on the watch now then.
Yes. Yeah. All adds up pretty quick, doesn't it? And There was another one just while we're on apps. The Outcast app, which is a very popular podcasting app. He's about to release version 2.
Overcast?
And he's going to do it for free, but then he would like people to become members and send him a monthly subscription. But he's not going to force you to do that. He's going to try that business model for change.
Yeah, so Mark Ahmed has released Overcast version 2.0, which is a nice little app. And yeah, like you say, you go into the settings there and there's a ability to go and do a Patreon. Is it Patreon? That's how you say it, I think.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the podcasts are promoting Patreon. And it's not a bad idea. It's a way of supporting small amounts of money either per episode or per time period. The pricing is got in there. It's, it is really aimed at people who want to support him and what he's doing with the app.
Yeah.
Like you said, all the features are free. There used to be in-app purchases to get all the extra features. So if you haven't already got Overcast, now's the time to jump out and grab it, because the whole thing is free.
Yeah.
But if you really love it, you can jump in there and support him for about $4 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
No, a bit over $1. $4 for 3 months, I think it was. I can't remember now, but
it wasn't very much.
You'll see in the settings if you want to give him the money and say thanks for the hard work you're doing on the app.
Yeah.
No, not a lot, but not a lot for what you're getting, but for someone who's used to paying $1.99 for an app and that's it forever, you never pay any more.
Yeah.
Or the whole app marketplace, people don't want to spend money on apps because it should all be free or next to free. So I think the pricing is like it's almost like a subscription thing, and I know a lot of people are very shy of taking on another subscription. But it's a great app. And like you're saying, if you want to support, then you've got the ability to do so.
Yeah. Do you think the world's moved on from subscriptions? Like, we used to subscribe to magazines. We used to subscribe to newspapers. They want us to subscribe to Netflix every month, for example.
No, they haven't. Yep. You look in subscription, Microsoft. Okay, they're still going to get a bit of money when you buy a new computer.
Yeah.
But Office 365, it's all subscription based.
Yeah. Adobe.
Netflix, Stan, all these. Adobe Cloud. What do you call it?
Cloud. Yeah.
What's the whole lot called? Creative
Suite.
Creative Suite. It's all subscription based now.
Yeah.
So no, we haven't moved on subscription. We may have moved on for subscription for physical goods, but we've well and truly been replaced with subscriptions for digital goods.
Yeah. So, there was a race to the bottom for pricing for apps, and I think we've maybe subscriptions a way to stop that from happening.
I hope so. I'm not sure. I prefer the model where, look, to be honest, I'm a little bit shy of them as well, I'm happy to pay a proper amount for an app.
Yeah.
Or for something that I like that. That seems fair. And, I for Overcast, for example, I downloaded the app. I spent 10 minutes playing with and go, yep, great job. Here's the full amount for the whole app.
Yeah.
And pay it outright.
Well, that's what I did as well.
I'm happy to do that with most apps. If there's a light version, I get it and I like it. Even if unlocking the full features. Yeah, there you go. But if there's any free app that has a nominally optional version of it, if you know what I mean, like you can upgrade it. You don't get a lot extra, but really all you're doing is saying thanks for the app and here's a bit of money for your hard work. There's a few apps that I've got that are like that. that paying for it doesn't give you a whole lot extra. Maybe
we had a little break in transmission there, so we're going to say thanks to athwebhosting.com.au, and there's one thing that they don't do is tend to go down like that where we do. That's why they got a 99.95% uptime and instant activation. They accept PayPal as well as other cards, and hopefully we'll all get to accept Apple Pay soon. They've got 250 scripts can be installed in one clip, inserting WordPress and Joomla and many more. And they use the C panel, which I love. Makes it very easy, and it is a feature-rich control panel. And it's all from $5.95 per month, paid annually. So Garth, what?
if only my internet could have 99.9% uptime, I'd be happy.
Yes, mate. Yeah. So, we've now got an Aussie Mac Zone Twitter account that's pumping away.
Yeah, we've set up an Aussie Mac Zone Twitter account, so if you want to follow at Aussie Mac Zone, we'll make sure we tweet out any of the stories that we've covered. If you want to deep dive into those, and Twitter's the way you like to do that sort of stuff. If you want to get in contact with us, just send us a message on Twitter if that's the way you interact with the world and you get in contact. So it's a very very bare bones account at the moment. We'll get that sorted out, and at Aussie Mac Zone, just like you would expect.
Well, I'm not a real Twitter user, so I'm looking forward to getting in there and having to work a bit harder.
Beautiful.
now all my phones are going off again.
It's that time of night.
I thought I changed all of those to a better time.
Yes.
So, I was just looking for my next story, which was some people have been having trouble with their iOS 9 Mail app, where it's been taking a long time to download information. It just says loading, and apparently it hasn't been happening for IMAP customers, but only for the POP customers. So if you are having that challenge at the moment, there aren't any workarounds except be patient, or actually quit out of Mail and load it again is one suggestion.
I've got another suggestion for you.
Yes.
Stop using POP.
That's right.
We're past the year 2000. There's no need to be using POP anymore.
You think?
Sorry, I'll stop. Some people like it. That's fine.
Yes. And we've also one of my customers this week. Their question for me was, as we generally know, when you see a mail article that you're not really interested in, or you've finished, you can swipe it to the left and it brings up the more and the delete button. They were getting an archive button instead, and I personally haven't experienced this, but after researching it, you have to go into settings and into Mail, into Advanced, and in there you can change that to be either archive or delete. So somehow when they set up their new phone, they were getting this particular message. So, and they didn't deep dive.
Was it just an upgrade to iOS 9, or was it a setup of a new account?
No, I think it was an upgrade to iOS 9. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange that it happened there. I mean, any Gmail account that you set up, usually, I've found for the last few years, it defaults to archive, and if you want it to be deleted straight away, you have to go in there and change it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just go into the particular Mail account and into the settings, into that account, and into the settings, advanced settings for that account, like you said, and you can, change what action you want to have happen when you delete something, whether it is deleted or archived.
Yeah.
Look, that was one of the things I've loved about, not iOS 9, but El Capitan is the Mail app. Mail app is so much better under El Capitan than it is than it was previously.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that there's these few little bugs with iOS 9, the few little issues people are having.
Yeah, I 10.10.3 introduced a bug for me in mail where it just became a bit erratic and would take a long time to load sometimes, and I get the spinning wheel. That all that went away as soon as I went up to El Capitan, so I was very happy.
Yeah, it's been a huge change for me with mail working properly.
Yeah.
And it's not one of the things a lot of people, it's not one of the things I've seen people talk about much, but maybe they just weren't having the problems we were.
Well, they were so frustrated they didn't want to hurt themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of new releases, if you're on the public betas or a beta, iOS 9, iOS 9.1 beta, public beta 5 is out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the corresponding beta for developers is also out. Just seems to be, bug fixes and stability. Doesn't seem to be a lot new in there, but jump out and grab the gigabyte or so that you'll need to download for that update if you're on that track.
And have you noticed? Sorry, just going back to El Capitan for a moment. Have you noticed a good speed increase, or just straight reliability? Do you think, or
speed slightly? A little bit of a speed increase, not a huge amount. It's not hugely noticeable, but here and there you go. Oh yeah, that's working better. Stability, I haven't really noticed much change. I guess if only been a week or so, my Mac doesn't crash that often. So
nah, that's right. Yeah.
It was always pretty stable anyway. So maybe it could be 50% more stable, and that would mean I have a problem once every 6 months instead of once every 2 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So
as I said, my biggest challenge was mail, and then that all went away. So I'm a happy little chappy. So
yeah.
And like I say, I shut mine down and changed networks and all that sort of stuff, and it's fine. Just continues on.
Yeah, I never had any of the Wi-Fi issues that a lot of people had.
No.
With not holding a Wi-Fi connection or anything like that. That's always been rock solid for me.
Yeah.
And on Wi-Fi, one of the features they introduced, I think in iOS 8 maybe, or even 7, I'm not sure, but through iCloud Keychain, the ability to sync all your Wi-Fi networks, I have found invaluable. Someone gives you the coffee shop, the Wi-Fi address for the coffee shop, and stick it into your Mac, and before you know it, your phone, your watch, everything else, your iPad, everything else is on that Wi-Fi network. You didn't have to do anything else. So that syncing of Wi-Fi networks across iCloud Keychain has been great.
Yeah. Super
it's just one of those little conveniences.
Yeah. So what about Facebook?
Facebook, yeah, they update their app every time you turn around, don't they? It seems like, and they never tell you too much about what's in it. But this time they've added the 3D touch gestures.
Yeah.
So right from the front screen, if you are a Facebooker, is that even a term? See, this shows you how much of not a Facebooker I am. I call them Facebookers. So if you're someone who loves getting on Facebook and wants to post, and I nearly said tweet, who wants to post quickly from Facebook, you can do that right from your home screen.
Yeah.
Start a new chat, or not start a new chat, start a new post. You can take a photo and post that, or grab a photo from your camera roll right from the 3D touch on the home screen of the app.
Yeah, so it's getting a lot of good raps, the Force Touch interface, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, you and I don't know. I haven't had the pleasure yet.
Not
other
yet,
than in
no.
the store.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good because the developers are doing all the little things that make it that show its advantages.
Exactly.
Just by being there, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering how long it would take to have some uptake, but every time I look in my App Store app and check the updates,
there's a new update, isn't there?
There's a new update, and it's adding support for 3D touch, and so a heck of a lot of developers have jumped on board.
Yeah,
thankfully, yeah.
So there was a story last week about battery life of the two different 6S series chips. So there was a Samsung chip and a TSMC chip, and there was comments about how big the difference was in the battery life. So now Apple said there was hardly any difference, and every phone there's going to be like 2, 3, 4, 5% difference in battery life anyway, just in the design of the battery, let alone what chip's running it. But now there's they've had some real life tests. Someone sat there and spent hours doing the tests, and there's hardly any difference.
Yeah. So I think Ars Technica did some further testing.
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks ago we spoke about this. I remember we spoke about this story in terms of, oh yeah, there are 2 different chips, and at the time we sort of speculated, oh yeah, you'd expect the Samsung with the smaller manufacturing, the 12 or 14 millimeter rather than 16, or maybe the Samsung would be a little bit more power efficient. And turns out the other way around, but really no big deal. So yeah, like you said, Ars Technica have done a deep dive on it, and unlike the initial stories we got from the Geekbench testing, in closer to real world usage, the difference between the 2 chips is within the same sort of range that you would expect. Just like you're saying, the same sort of range you would expect for any variation in device construction. Yeah.
That Geekbench is the biggest difference. But if you do Wi-Fi browsing in real world, or WebGL or GFX bench, there's hardly any difference in the times at all. So that's good to know that Apple's not feeding us a line, and it's been backed up by other people.
Well, they don't tend to. That's
right.
So I saw someone going, "Oh, every device 10 hours battery life, cooking the books." I think, and you go, "Yeah, they probably are cooking the books." Instead of telling you 11 and a half hours for the iPad and 12 hours for the 6S Plus and 10 hours 30 for the 6S, they're just going to say, yeah, they're all at least 10 hours.
Yeah.
They that sort of stuff they'll undersell and over deliver.
Yeah.
Rather than the other way around typically. So it's good to see.
Just an example today, I was surprised because my watch ran out this afternoon at about 4 o'clock, and the reason being is my son was fiddling around behind my desk and had actually unplugged my charger. So I was stuck there, and it just went into low power mode, and that was all it was till I could get home and plug it back in. So that was a day and a half without any problem, just under normal usage. I didn't even notice last night that it wasn't charging.
It happens easily, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It happened to me with my phone yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
And got to work yesterday morning, and my phone was on 32%. I thought, oh no. Because I know my phone's not going to last out the whole day on 32%.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I carry a big-ass battery in my backpack. I can plug it into.
Yeah, they're very advantageous, those external battery packs, aren't they? So simple.
It's handy to have one about.
Yeah, and they're so cheap these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Steve Cheney, wrote a piece that he boldly titled "On Apple's Insurmountable Platform Advantage." So, what do you think about that?
This was a piece I saw in 6 Colors, and he linked out, and Jason's now linked out to this story. And if you haven't read it, go through it. I don't know how much I can add to it, but it does look interesting. Right back from when Steve Jobs was up on the platform introducing the first iPhone. Yeah. At the same time they were doing that, when there's a brand new market for them. In the background, they're collecting together chip designers.
Yeah, yeah.
How sort of forward thinking, how sort of reckless, you might almost say. How arrogant to think that they would be able to actually design their own chipsets for, when you've got Intel and all these other companies like that out there doing it, much, much bigger, to actually start right from when they first introduced the iPhone, getting together a team of experts to design their own chips. And now they find themselves, like it says in this article, if you're a chip designer, all the top people in this field, they don't want to work in Intel anymore. They don't want to work for Qualcomm. They all want to go to Apple.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really is why Apple has such an advantage with the iPhone, is that their custom chips that they have made. It's just don't have to support all the crap that the other guys have to support. And it's also why Apple don't really focus on it in any of the specs. They don't talk about RAM. They don't talk about the specifics of what, how many cores and what clock speed is, because it's kind of irrelevant. It's really like comparing apples with oranges, so to speak. You look at some of the Qualcomm chips, and it might have 8 cores instead of 4, or it might have whatever, it might be running at 3 times the clock speed. And people, if you start talking just about it in terms of those numbers, people are automatically going to go, well, that chip sucks and that one's fantastic, But the reality, you get the tests of how the performance is at the UI level for the user or the Geekbench tests and those sort of tests. And this new iPhone is completely blowing them out of the water because they've got that custom, it's all integrated. It's top to bottom, from the actual silicon right up to the UI. This silicon is designed for that operating system.
Yeah.
It's such a huge advantage they've got, and the implications of that moving forward are going to be fantastic, I think.
Yeah, it happened 2 years ago with the cameras, didn't it? Where we as Apple didn't have like the biggest megapixel camera, but we still took the best photos because of the way that we treat them afterwards and the way we color change the flash, for example, to depending on the environment, which is what they're doing now with the front-facing flash. So all the little things that add up to giving you the result that you want, as opposed to, I've got the fastest phone. I always go back to when Android first released their 64-bit chip in their phones, but the operating system didn't work.
Didn't support it. Yeah.
So what's the point in actually having the phone that's a 32-bit phone?
Yeah.
Because we know that how hard it is to actually get an upgrade on an Android phone, because your carrier won't let you do it. So,
well, in that case, it didn't even matter if you upgraded, because the operating system still didn't support it anyway.
That's right. Yeah, but we had. But if you look on the specs, it's a 64-bit chip running at this speed. Must be awesome.
Absolutely. With 8 cores, must be fantastic.
Yeah. Don't quite understand, but anyway.
Yeah. So no, interesting. So I recommend go to 6 Colors and have a read through the full article. It's an interesting article to read, and delves into the future for Apple Car as well. Maybe how this could impact on that, and also possibly looking at making their own radio chips as well, rather than buying those. Designing their own there as well. So interesting read.
It's just interesting, going back to the car for a minute. I don't think we mentioned, so there's a new board member, and he's African American, so we've got diversity on the board finally, making a lot of people happy, but he's from an automotive background. Is that coincidence or
Yeah,
Do you
total
think?
coincidence. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can hold out for a new car that long. And maybe if I held out that long for a new car, I might actually have a chance to save up half the money I'd need.
That's right. That's the only thing, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we also
Yeah.
Apple's. If you remember, a couple of years ago, Apple got into trouble for their iBook agreement they had with publishers, where they just said you can't sell it cheaper to anyone else than you do to us. So then they got into antitrust trouble, and they've had a monitor sitting in Apple charging them a shocking load of money for what they believe was doing nothing. So his term's up, and the US Justice Department says there's no reason for him to stay there, and they've put in meaningful antitrust policies, procedures, and training programs at Apple. So
Oh, that's nice.
I still don't believe. I personally, reading everything that I've read about it, don't believe they did anything wrong, and especially when you compare it to Amazon and what they're actually doing now. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
obviously I'm not a smart enough lawyer.
No. Well, I think there's some sort of, to say you can't sell it anywhere else cheaper than what you sell it for in our store, even though that you're only going to get 70% of what you sell it for in our store. Yeah, that does rub me up a little bit, you know. So if I've got a platform, I can sell the same thing at the same price, but you know, this other store's only going to charge me 5% commission, and you're going to charge me 30%, but I still have to sell it for the same price. I guess that's just, you know, here's the store, this is the cost of doing business. You can set whatever price you like. Whereas, like you're saying, Amazon, really, yeah, that's much worse.
Yeah. And even to the point where Amazon now are looking at charging, and I don't quite understand how they do this, but depending on how much of the book you read. So if you only read half the book, they're only going to pay the person that wrote it half the amount of money. I don't know how they do that, but they're obviously taking a long time to pay you if that's the case. Because I might read half the book now and half of it in 6 months' time. Does that mean he's going to get paid half now and half in 6 months' time?
What are you saying? What are you saying?
That Amazon want to pay the publisher or the person that wrote the book, depending on how much of the book you've read.
Oh my goodness!
They're going to charge you full price. There's nowhere they've said they're going to rebate me.
Yeah.
Half the price when I've only read half of it.
Page.
Yeah. But they want to pay the person that wrote it half the price.
Oh wow!
So yeah.
That's why I had to get you to repeat that, because I didn't believe it could possibly be right.
Work that one out. So what happens if you buy a car manual? I only want to read the bit about tyres, so they're only going to pay a quarter for that. Well, it's got 4 tyres, so they. Yeah, so it's a bit weird. But
okay. If they let me buy it page per page, then, you know, at 0.003 cents per page, then fine.
Yes.
Oh, well, I guess that's what Apple did to the albums, isn't it? You know, popularizing selling the single, allowing single-only purchasing.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh well, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, I've got to stop talking about Amazon. It's giving me a headache.
There was another one last week just about songs that it was the first time in Australia that digital streaming income from streaming surpassed purchases.
Yes.
Like storefront purchases as opposed to iTunes purchases, for example.
Yeah, so was it digital streaming outsold physical purchases?
Yeah.
So is that because digital stream is getting more, or physical purchases are falling even lower, or I guess a combination of the both?
Both, I think. Yeah.
But digital purchases is still is the main.
Yeah, and is that
Still
because
more than digital stream?
Apple came on board with their Apple Music? So it'd be interesting to see whether that keeps going up or going down.
Yeah. Now that everyone will be finished their 3 months, those who've tried it, I wonder. I haven't heard much about that actually, as to what percentage of people they reckon they've converted.
Yeah.
Just anecdotally, I hear about 2 out of 10 people who, three or 4 people out of 10 who've kept it going. Me not being one of them. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see their numbers when they get around to releasing them, if they ever do.
If they do, yeah.
And
yeah.
But also,
speaking of numbers, you were talking about iPhone 6S sales, yeah.
6S versus 6 sales. So there was a Forbes article talking about the uptake being lower for the 6S Plus, for the 6 Plus, and this over the 6, or the 6S over the 6S Plus. The uptake currently from when they released to now, remembering there was 1 week's different there as well. They released a week later this year. So the 6S Plus has only got 0.5% of all iPhones sold, and the 6 Plus at the same time was 0.6% of all iPhones sold. But because there was such a big spike in sales last year, that means there was still more 6S Pluses sold. Even though the percentage is less, the starting point was a lot more. So we're talking about 500,000 difference in phones there. So there's more 6S Plus phones by about 500,000 for the same period. But for the 6S versus the 6S is 2.1% of the whole total of phones, whereas the 6 was 3.4% for the same period. So we're talking, 16 million to 18.5 million. So a bit, 2 million less phones we believe has been sold, but that doesn't take into account all over the world, and the rest of it's just pulling a rabbit out of the hat, I think.
Yeah,
it's just sort of taking guesstimates everywhere and working it out.
Those numbers can be so wildly inaccurate, can't they?
Yeah.
It's really hard to. It really becomes a little bit like tea leaf reading. I think at this point, until we get official numbers from them, it's hard to know what sense to make of it and what conclusions to draw.
When people are doing guesstimates, and they're only talking about a total of 0.5% out of 774 million phones, 0.5% is not even close to being in the margins, is it?
No, it'd easily be that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think of anything else you've got going for me.
No, I think that might be all my stories for the night.
Yeah. And the name of I've got to find Glenn's email again now, just because I want to make sure that we tell everybody about this. Go back here, find Glenn. Sorry, everyone. Because we've got our new security podcast.
The science of security.
Yeah. Where's Glenn? And we had feedback from a listener this week, so we're always happy to get feedback.
Absolutely, yep. Thanks.
Yeah.
It was Simon who
Simon,
ran it, so
Yep, making an inquiry. So anybody wants to ask us a question, please let us do that.
Send an email to garth@aussiemaczone.com.
Yeah, no
or
problem.
like we said, at iBlind, get my own Twitter handle, aussiemaczone.com, at aussiemaczone.
Yeah.
On Twitter, if you like, get in contact with us there.
Yeah. I still don't know what's happened to Glenn's emails. Sorry, everybody. No, but it's Aussie Tech Security. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the podcast. So if you look up Aussie Tech, I'm sure it's there. I'll definitely put it. Make
you
sure.
Know what I'm going to do?
I'll
I'm going to
look
search.
Yeah.
Aussie Tech Security.
Yeah.
In iTunes right at this moment and see what we find. Best new games. That's not it. Come on.
Come on, baby.
Podcast. Aussie Tech Security from Aussie Tech Heads. There you go.
We go.
Aussie Tech Security is correct.
Yeah. So,
And
please
you can get
take
the
a listen to
video or the
that.
audio.
Yeah. Take a listen, have a watch, and because as we were saying last week, it's us that's letting the side down, not Apple, and with regards to security.
Yeah, fortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a podcast I put out on my site a little while ago was top 10 tips for Mac security.
Yeah.
And the first one I usually don't do myself, which is don't run as administrator.
Well, El Capitan stopped us doing that now, as such.
Well, it has reduced the need to anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've still got to go in and fiddle if you want to break those rules. But yeah, don't do dumb things. Basically, it's the rule, isn't it?
But what's a dumb thing isn't always obvious. So yeah.
Yeah, well, don't go in and change the firewall settings to let anything you download open. Basically, that's
yeah.
Or at least go away, have a cup of coffee, and then think about it.
Jump into Safari and allow opening of safe files. Well, no files that you download from the internet are safe.
No.
Untick that one. Don't automatically open downloaded files, okay? Just don't.
Never. All right, my friend.
Anyway.
Is that it for this magnificent week?
I think so.
All right. Well, don't forget to our friends at Aussie Tech Heads, athwebhosting.com.au, or the other Tech Head podcasts, or other Tech Aussie Tech podcasts. That's be the right way to say it, wouldn't it? So there's 3 of us now, so that's 30% more to listen to. Enjoy.
There you go. 50% extra from what you had before.
That's right. Fun with numbers. All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks for tonight, Michael. And thanks, listeners, for listening.
Yeah, all the best.
See you later.